Hey guys, hopefully you can hear me okay. I am in the mountains. Hello, hello, hello. What is going on? So, the chat's finally popping up. So I rented a house in the Ouachita Mountains, Oachita. Yay! Good morning. So I rented this little house out in the mountains. Apparently it's in a retirement community, which is fine because I just want to be left alone. So came out here for the weekend just to kind of relax. Really pretty scenery, super green outside with all the trees. Having my coffee here in not your Kansas, but our Kansas, right? That's when all of the people left Kansas and decided to make a new state because, you know, there was an uprising and then they decided to leave Kansas and go to our Kansas. Come here, Neen. Nina's with me, as is Frodo. Here we go. The science doggo. She's hanging out. She likes to explore. There's no fence out here, so have to watch for predators because, you know, she would be a tasty snack. So, good morning. So, hanging out here in the mountains for the weekend. So, let's see who's here. Hello, everyone. Let me scroll back up. Das Boot, Saeed, how are you doing? Sean Davis, Wayne Terry, what's going on? August is with us. Nether, what's going on? Harmonica Man, how you doing? Sandy's here. Mr. Shadow Kitty, Scapegoat, Dinah Cat Loves Me. What's up? So I had to rearrange lighting because this isn't, because I'm spoiled. I'm spoiled with my particular setup at my house. The lighting is vastly different here. And I thought, you know, I could go outside, but humidity and heat are a thing. And that's usually not so great for the laptops and everything, you know? So that's all right. What's up, Redacted? Ouachita. Oh, thank you, Scott. Ouachita Mountains. Thank you. What's all this? Hey, John Morgan. I'm in the mountains in Arkansas. So in the Ouachita Mountains in a retirement community. You know, and it's interesting because the way that the house is decorated feels like it's somebody in a retirement community. The whole kitchen is done in Coca-Cola style. There are apparently the person who owns the house and rents it out is Vietnam veteran. That's stuff posted on the wall on top of the fireplace with a bunch of flags. So that's cool. Live from the forest. That's right, Peter. What's up? Gonna go for it. We're live from the forest, guys, in the mountains. So it's interesting. It's interesting. So I don't know. It's pretty neat. Yeah, coffee in the mountains is really nice. And so, you know, I dig it. They have a hot tub. I haven't jumped into it because it's hot outside. I'm like, I really want a cold tub. Can I like turn off the heat and jump into there? It's illegal to pronounce it Arkansas. I used to live in Arkansas, over near Little Rock for a little while. You want to look out the window? Yeah, we can do that. Let me see. Here we go. It's pretty nice. Lots and lots of trees. There's a little fire pit over there. Yep. A little table and a grill. Yes. I did try to have like the door open for a little bit with the screen, and then the mosquitoes, or the mosquitoes. They're pretty bad right now. And I'd rather not have West Nile with the hospitals being the way that it is. It's really nice. John, hey John, is it Louis Vega? I don't pronounce words so great sometimes. Ooh, a pond on the deck. So I'm not too far from DeSoto Lake. Maybe I'll go pop over there really quickly. It's pretty neat. I like being out here. It's quiet. Most of the people out here are elderly, so there's no loud parties. So if there are, I was not invited. So there you go. Hey, Animal Science TV, what's going on? Is there a reason the locals won't take the Chinese vaccine? I don't know. They probably call it the China virus vaccine. It's all a, you know, conspiracy to control us through 5G tracking technology. Why do they make it free? Why is it free? Why are they trying to get us to take this? DeSoto Lake. Yeah, Soda Lake. Nether. Gumdrop Mountains. Yes. I would not put anything in my mouth out here that I found on the ground. I don't think it's made out of gumdrops, but, and you know, you might find some poison ivy. You might find some poison ivy. Can you imagine having poison ivy in your mouth? Oh, God. You find the screens, do keep the mosquitoes out. I don't know how they're getting in here. I have all of the windows closed, and they're like the little turn kinds. It's just crazy. Oxygen is a conspiracy. Yeah, you know, it is. Too much of it's not so great. Too little of it, not so great either. A nerdy wrote it. So I thought we could talk about different sciencey things today and some bad science takes. Oh boy, I was in the Pennine Mountains last week, fell off a mountain, lost my gear, and had a long limp home in the dark. Oh my goodness, redacted. I'm sorry, that sounds terrible. Yeah, I believe that, nerdy wrote it. Mosquitoes can almost certainly utilize quantum tunneling to bypass meshes. I better drink some coffee so I can say words better. My goodness. What's up, Sinister Porpoise? Ivermectin is not a COVID cure, but for some reason, people keep taking it. I can't get the vaccine, but let me shove this, you know, horse parasite medicine down my throat. Oh, goodness. Mr. Shadow Kitty had poison ivy on his naughty bits. Now, I'm curious on how that actually happened. Did you have a roll around in the grass? Ooh, or did you fall into it? My goodness. I just fell into some poison ivy. That's why it's only on my genitals. Oh my gosh. You're heating water for coffee right now. Sweet. I have a fresh pot right over there. And I'm probably going to dive into it. These little tiny cups. They don't have very large cups in this house, like coffee cups. It's like enough to toss. It's like the IHOP size cups, you know, where you finish one in like 3 minutes and you have to add more. Oh, and it has a nice reminder on the back. Jesus loves you. I'm not particularly religious or anything like that, but I'm almost at the point I'm like, do you have to tell people this now? Because, you know, you have to have it on a coffee mug. Maybe that makes people feel better if they see that as a daily reminder. Maybe that helps them. I'm like, I grew up in the church and all that. So I grew up like not in a church. I grew up in church. How about that? Maybe like my house was in a church. So, older people sometimes can't lift large cups too heavy. That's certainly fair, redacted. I didn't even think about that. So Advada's Diner. So you too can go to Advada's Diner in Carlisle, Arkansas, and get you a cup to remind you every day that Jesus loves you. And about their diner. I suppose that's nice. You know, I think that's all right. Woo! Let me see. I got to catch up on the chat. Why don't we ever see any mugs which say Muhammad loves you? Maybe, but you know, Jesus is big money in the South. I don't know if you guys realize this. I mean, there was a store called Zondervan's that used to be, I think, in malls even in the South. You could go there, and it was like heavy Christian religious types of merch. You could get a Jesus t-shirt, you know, you could get a Jesus t-shirt or, you know, bracelets. Even like they even had small toys that you know, toys that you could get like at Chuck E. Cheese for like playing skee ball. They had small toys like that were Jesus things. So that's pretty interesting. A ScientistMel loves you cup. Zondervan is a Christian publishing house. Well, they used to have stores too, and you could buy Jesus merch, you know, that went to Zondervan's. And I'm thinking, why doesn't some of this money go to, I don't know, the charities and stuff? But yeah, it's just, that always confused me. I'm like, why do people buy t-shirts with this on it? Wouldn't Jesus want you to go and help the poor? But I don't know. There you go. Oh my goodness. So it's just interesting. It's like most people know about Jesus at this point. You have to put it on a mug, particularly if you're in the South for some reason. Okay. So, all right. So I thought that we could go through some different things today. There is an article. Let me pull this up. Let me pull up this article. I'm going to share this with you. Good news, everyone. Let's have a look at this guy since we were talking a bit about COVID. Check it out. Didier Raoult, this jerk. Do you guys remember this jerk? He was the one who was pushing hydroxychloroquine. And he's like, hey, this cures COVID. And he's currently been trying to sue Elizabeth Bick, B-I-K. She's part of PubPeer, pubpeer.org. And they go through papers and they look essentially to try and see if there's any inconsistencies or any repetition in their data or in their graphs. And Elizabeth Bick basically destroyed this man's data. It was amazing. It was amazing. If you haven't checked her out, check her out on Twitter. She does image forensics, and she'll look in, just like, do you see anything that repeats itself in these particular images? And it's really kind of fun. And it's one way that scientists can actually keep other scientists in check. So this jerk, who's like on review boards and on, you know, for the publications, for his particular publications in the different journals, the journals that publish his stuff, he's on the review board. So we have a huge, huge, huge conflict of interest. He's just publishing his stuff left and right. But what does this all come down to? Money. Look, so he gained 500,000 subscribers to his YouTube channel during the pandemic. He promoted hydroxychloroquine. And he's probably not going to be able to continue his research. He may be forced from his post. And so the French scientific community has been under fire a lot, particularly with the Elizabeth Bick situation. And there's nothing they can do. Raoult continuously has threatened her with lawsuits and that sort of thing, gone through and it's like, hey, I'm going to sue you. It's like, how are you going to do that? Your papers have been retracted by the journal that you're on the board with. So you can't sue Elizabeth Bick for pointing out your bad science. But it looks like he might very well lose his career. So the good news is, let's see, university professors must retire at the age of 68 in France. Raoul turned 69 in March, and so from 31st of August will no longer be eligible to continue his post as a researcher and medical practitioner at the University of, I think it's Marseille and Marseille University Hospitals. Good. But he can still be the director of the Marseille-based Infectious Diseases Institute he founded. So he founded this particular institute. We really need to get rid of this guy. There's a hashtag that's been trending in France on Thursday morning with supporters fiercely defending the scientist who has gained cult status on some corners of the internet. Well, I mean, that's what he's hoping for. And then there was an interesting study. A 2020 study found that French people who reject masks were more likely to support Raoul. Funny that. I wonder why that is, you know, because anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers like to support the scientists who are on the fringes, the ones that are just, you know, just shy of wearing the tinfoil hats. He should be in jail, in my opinion. Hydroxychloroquine. Let me see. I'm trying to catch up on the chat. Hey, Hillbilly Jim Scraps, what's up? Hello. I think you have a question about Regeneron. He is a jerk, August. Let's all mark our own work. Right, nerdy? What do I know about Regeneron? Well, monoclonal antibody treatment, highly effective. And all that is they take antibodies and inject them into you so they attach to the virus to keep them from entering into your cells. Basically, if you got a vaccine, your body makes them for you. And right now in America, the vaccines are free. So you don't have to go and put money in the pockets of billionaires who have been pushing anti-vaccine rhetoric. So you get sick and make them money. People are like, look at the billionaires, or like the millionaires. So like, look at the politicians, the ones who are pushing, you know, Regeneron. This was a plandemic. I'm like, it's not a plandemic. They are marketing. They are making money off of this sort of thing. But that's because people will not get vaccinated. So these people who are, well, you know, it's big pharma. And, you know, no, it's not. You can get a free vaccine and make your own antibodies. Then you won't need Regeneron. Monoclonal antibodies, usually they make those antibodies either in mice or goats, and then they harvest them, and then they inject them into you because you don't have enough antibodies to fight off this virus. And so you have to have them injected to you from an animal. But hey, those people that didn't get vaccinated could, you know, they're happy with having animal antibodies injected into them, but they won't make their own. It's just insane. Redacted says, anyone telling people to drink bleach should probably be in prison, not a respected position. Pretty much. So it's pretty crazy. But I'm glad this jerk is probably going to be kicked out. Good news there. Good news there. Oh my goodness. You hear plandemic from your friends and family all the time because they did their research. They did not do their freaking research. It was planned. Who planned it? Who was in charge at the time that the pandemic happened? Oh, wait, yes, that's right. It was Trump, huh? Oh, gosh. My hair is super floofy today. What's up? All right. It's just ridiculous. There probably will be authorization for a booster shot. They've already authorized that for people who are immunosuppressed. That's already been authorized for them. So we should be seeing that same type of authorization pretty soon. They just want to make certain that the people who are higher risk get that booster shot first. Mice monoclonal antibodies, woohoo! I have been fully vaxxed since about April, so that's cool. Yay for vaccines. Okay, do you know if the Mars probes and drone found anything cool? I stopped paying attention. I don't know. We could look that up if we want to. Yeah, pandemic. They think they're so clever when they say things like that. Yes. Hey, Sean. So yeah, it should be authorized pretty soon. They're expecting full authorization from the FDA. I think it's Monday. Yeah, forged vax cards. Hey, you want to bet, Hillbilly Jim, that these people who are forging their vaccine cards are anti-immigrants with no documentation, right? The irony is incredible, huh? It's pretty interesting. Okay. Oh boy, I know it's nobody. Most people don't enjoy getting a shot, but just try to keep in mind it's just a one-time kind of thing. When you have to get one, just think about it and say, okay, I'm just gonna get through this one time and just woof, and then make it through. A re-engineered booster rather than another the same. You would prefer that? Well, I mean, it's going to do the same thing. You know, it doesn't really matter. Oh my goodness. It is illegal to forge documents like that, Nerdy. I believe, let me see if I can find that story. Let me see if I can find that. Federal agents, yeah, it is illegal, seize thousands of fake COVID vaccination cards. All right, well, let me show you this. Let's have a look at this then. This is from the Washington Post. So let's have a look. Let me pull this up. Here we go. All right, so let's have a look at this. Federal agents seize thousands of fake COVID vaccination cards destined for locations across the U.S. So these are forged. They were printed with the CDC's logo. They've been shipped from Shenzhen, China to recipients all around the United States, as some unvaccinated people try to evade restrictions that require proof of the shot to enter certain bars, schools, and public spaces. These vaccinations are free and available everywhere, Michael Niepert, CBP Area Port Director of Memphis, said in a statement. If you do not wish to receive a vaccine, that is your decision, but don't order a counterfeit, waste my officers' time, break the law, and misrepresent yourselves. It is against the law. Making or buying a counterfeit card violates federal laws against the unauthorized use of a government agency seal, which can result in a fine and up to 5 years in prison. And I think it could be as much as $20,000. Oh, wait, nope, $16,000 each. So last month, 2 travelers were fined nearly $16,000 each after they submitted fake vaccine documentation to cross the Canadian border on a flight to Toronto. So, moral of the story here, guys, just get vaccinated. Oh my goodness, just get vaccinated. Don't fake it because you can go to jail. But you know, and I've tried so hard to explain to people how this vaccine works. Let's see, they could re-engineer the vaccine specifically for the Delta and Lambda variants. You'd think they would just do it. They don't need to, Dinah. And the reason why they don't need to is because the virus has not changed the way that it enters into the cells. So that's a good thing, because the way that it enters into cells is through the ACE2 receptor. And you have that receptor highly expressed on just about every cell in your body. This is why when people get the coronavirus, when they get COVID-19, any variant right now, it still uses that mode of entry. So the antibodies that you make for those variants, that you make in general, still work for those variants. They don't have to re-engineer one. They just need to make certain that you get a booster shot so you have plenty of the same antibody. And so that's the good news about these variants. They haven't changed the way that they've entered into your cells. It's different with like the flu shot. With the flu changes those proteins on the outside of its virus so much that you have to make a new vaccine with every single variant. That's not happening with COVID-19. We just want to make certain that your body has enough antibodies to gum up and stick to the outside of that virus so it can't enter into your cells. They don't need to re-engineer one. So they're just going to give you a booster with it. Yeah. Fine them all $16,000. No kidding. Hey, Divine, what's up? Yeah, if you don't want a vaccine, just accept the consequences. I was getting into like arguments on Facebook. Not really arguments. I've just had it with anti-vaxxers. Oh, Sandy, I'm glad that you got vaccine. Got your vaccine. Yay. All righty. So let's find, I've been yelling at people on the internet. Let me pull this up. I've been yelling at people on the internet because people on the internet are wrong. Okay, I've pulled up. Let me see if I can find where I've been yelling at people on the internet. Okay. So this is a hot take from Jan. Okay, Jan. Let's see. People need to take the antibodies before they get too sick. COVID can be treated before a person gets real sick. Okay. Jan's hot take is that people should be given the antibodies before they get sick. Well, Natasha's like, Jan, has everyone taken note at the millions of dollars that the company that manufactures the monoclonal antibodies is making huge donations to the DeSantis and other GOP candidates? This is horrific. Why should they prevent infection with a shot when they can let people get sick and profit from the treatment? At $1,500 per treatment or more, they are making a bundle. So this is from U.S. News and World Report, August 17th, which was my birthday, by the way. Citadel, a Chicago-based hedge fund, has 15.9 million shares of Regeneron Pharmaceutical, according to filings with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Citadel CEO Ken Griffin has donated $10.75 million to a political committee that supports DeSantis. $5.75 million in 2018 and $5 million last April. Also note, prior to the national announcement of the COVID pandemic, but after the classified meetings, Ron Paul's wife invested thousands in Regeneron. The fix is in, and it's disgusting what they do in the gutter of the government. And then I'm like, you can make your own antibodies for free with a free vaccine. But hey, why do that? That way, you bypass all of this conspiracy of the freaking politicians making money off of sick people if you just get the freaking vaccine. They're not pocketing any money off of that. You're not padding their wallets or their pockets by getting monoclonal antibody treatment if you just get the vaccine. But what do I know? Clearly nothing. I'm an idiot. Let me see if I can find, where's the other, oh, here's the other one. Here's the other fight that I've been getting in. Because I'm seeing people, and this was me, because I'm seeing people upset that the vaccine is being pushed. Just a reminder, buildings in most states are non-smoking because cigarette smoke causes cancer. For this reason, people can't blow their cigarette smoke on others, but it's a public health issue. That's why, because it's a public health issue. How about people keep their COVID juice to themselves by staying home or wearing a mask? Better yet, get a vaccine and breathe on whoever you want without causing them to become seriously ill and or killing them. And so it's like, this person, Carrie, down here, and Janet. Carrie, I think of Carrie like the Stephen King film Covered in Blood, which might be apt. And then Janet, Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's fine. Smith, vaccinated are getting COVID just as much as unvaccinated. Media is not reporting it as it doesn't go along with their agenda. Ask nurses who are working in the hospitals. And then Carrie's got the same thing. People who are vaxxed are still transmitting and still dying from COVID. So, so I, of course, had to respond because people are being ignorant in these replies. Yes, you might get the Delta variant if you are vaccinated, but you'll be texting on your phone in the hospital with a little oxygen in your nose, not intubated in the ICU, flat on your stomach with a catheter shoved in your pee hole, urethra, for those who understand science words, while you say goodbye to your family on FaceTime because you wouldn't get vaccinated, but whatever. I've pulled off the gloves and I'm not being nice to people anymore because I have absolutely had it. I have had it. I have had it. And I'm not the only person who is absolutely sick of people not getting vaccinated. I'm getting to a point to where I kind of a little bit scared to leave my house because what if I get in a car wreck? What if I get in a car wreck and, I have to go to the hospital? I'm going to be sitting in the hallway bleeding out, waiting for a bed because a whole bunch of jerks, and that's what they are now. Let's just call it what it is. They're being jerks, decided to not get a vaccine, but yet demand immediate attention because they're sick and dying. When they have repeatedly been told by the very hospital staff, medical professionals, to say, hey, please get vaccinated so you don't die. Nobody says, please get vaccinated because you won't get sick. Yeah, you might get infected, but it might feel like a cold. You're not going to die from it. The likelihood of you dying from a COVID-19 infection when you're vaccinated is so low. If you do, it's because you really have bad luck. That's what it is. So let's be honest here. Let me catch up on the chat. I'm so frustrated. it's just, I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I'm just mad all the time. Let me catch up on the chat. All right, Sean Davis. ScientistMel, for people hesitant over possible long-term effects, most vaccine side effects occur within 2 months of vaccination per the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have a reaction, to a vaccine, it usually happens pretty quickly. And you tend to have a history of that problem anyway. And if you have a history of that problem, then don't get the vaccine. Let's see, the Sinister Porpoise asks, do we know if the body keeps the antibodies yet, or are we just assuming our bodies won't? We should be keeping the antibodies. And you do have memory cells that you run off on. And your body can continue to make new antibodies based on those memory cells. But once you get to a certain age, you don't make near as many. All right, because that's why we see a high breakthrough infection rate among the elderly. But, my mother, she's pushing 70, and she's been vaccinated. She got COVID back in December before the vaccines, and she was given the monoclonal antibody treatment, and she recovered. She got vaccinated, and then she had a breakthrough infection. She just felt tired. She didn't have to go to the hospital. So she just kind of felt icky for a week, and that's pretty much it. Redacta says, I had side effects. I've never had any before. They were mild and lasted 2 to 3 days. I still voted the next day. Me too. So when I got vaccinated, yeah, my arm hurt where I got vaccinated, and then I was tired. That was pretty much for both shots. Scapegoat asks, what administering the antibodies to a person work? I'm wondering how the body would respond to antibodies it didn't create. If it has no stimulus to create them, how would it use it? Well, if you're administering antibodies to a person, now keep in mind, antibodies are not quite like individual cells. People could possibly have what would be considered an allergic reaction to them, but only if they had previous reactions to other antibodies. It's highly effective. And what the antibodies do, now keep in mind, the antibodies themselves are super, 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 super small. They're really small. And so detecting them on a level that would cause like an immune response to where your body would reject the antibodies is exceedingly low. It's exceedingly low. It's not like where you're inhaling pollen that are big old giant things and you got like proteins all on the outside. Because I have allergies. I have allergies to animals and trees and grass. Here I am in the mountains. And I'm like, oh, I love the mountains. But I take my Sudafed and I take my Zyrtec because my body will freak out to the pollen. But pollen is much larger than antibodies. Now, keep in mind, viruses are very, 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 very tiny. And the antibodies that attach to the viruses, they're kind of like chewing gum that sticks onto the proteins on the outside of the virus to keep it from attaching to your cells. So the likelihood that your body would reject those antibodies is exceedingly low because it's super, 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 super tiny. It's like giving chewing gum to a virus, so if you're looking at that scale. So that's kind of how the best way I think I can describe that. Let's see. I understand what you're saying. Diana says, as to the vaccine not needing to be adapted for the variants, however, immune responses are quite variable. Individuals' specificity can address that. Not really, because the specificity would be making antibodies for the same receptor. And immune responses are different, hence my mother getting a breakthrough infection because she didn't make enough antibodies. That's what needs to be addressed, is getting a booster shot so you can make more antibodies and make certain you have enough. So specificity isn't going to do a thing. You still would make the same antibodies. And you're either going to make them or not. And if your body didn't make enough, you need another booster shot. And so they base it on that information. Redacted. Practically no vaccinated people are dying of COVID. I haven't heard of any cases yet. So, Nether has a good point in there about the antibodies. Yeah, they're the same protein configuration as your other antibodies. There's like no signatures of animal on there. Okay. Coffee, yay. Yes, that's correct, Nether. B memory cells are created and stay around for decades, but regular booster shots keep those reproducing. Correct. This is why even though elderly people, at some point, they stop making new B cells, but it's different for each person. It's different for each person, and there's no fully understanding of where elderly people stop making antibodies because everybody's different. So this is why they still encourage old elderly people to get shots for pneumonia and the flu and things like that, just in case they're still making antibodies because they may not have made enough in the past. Well, it's good seeing you, Hillbilly Jim. Enjoy your day. All righty. Okay, I think I've caught up on the chat. How about we look at some crazy videos of people? And this is going to make me nuts, I have a feeling. Let's look at these terrible takes. Let me close off the chat for a minute. All right, so Steve Nevling. I've been watching some of his stuff. And, all right, he's been posting this. This one is a pretty funny video. So
if God wanted
let's have
us
a look.
To cover our mouth and nose.
Let's have a look at this and see what they say. All right.
When's it going to end?
And I can't hear it, but you guys probably can.
Our children will never see the freedoms
that
we enjoyed growing up. They are not even free to breathe fresh air. If God wanted us to cover our mouth and nose, he would have made us that way.
All right. So, he would have made us that way. All right. So if God didn't intend for people to wear a mask because he would have made us that way. Says the person with glasses and clothing, right? Oh, were you guys able to see that? Did you guys see that? Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. You guys saw that. Okay. So she has on glasses, clothing, all of that. And it's like, we were born naked, okay? We were born naked, completely naked, straight out the vajayjay, whatever. We were born naked. You know, we wear glasses when our eyes don't function the way that we need them to. But we take allergy medicine because, you know, we have allergies. But we can't wear masks because that's not what God intended. Let me go back. I did not mean to close out of that. All right. So here, a mask mandate
children that the air is toxic,
is child
that they could be
abuse.
toxic, and to
Let
live
me
in
start
fear.
over.
BPS has decided to mask up our children, but once again, your announcement has fallen short of providing evidence
for this
and data, which we have continuously asked for, science, common sense, and now human decency. COVID poses almost zero risk to children. 4.2 million children have tested positive for COVID, and of that 4.2 million children, 0.008 have died. The seasonal flu actually kills more children than COVID. The 2018-19 flu season killed 480 children in the United States, yet no mask mandates. These are easily researched facts. Forced mask mandates for something that has an almost 0% chance of killing them is child abuse.
It's child abuse.
You force your
It's like, what? What? It is child abuse. And if you're curious, you too can go and watch these videos. I'll put them in the chat here. Oh my gosh. It's child abuse, guys. Child abuse. You know. All righty. It's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating. All right. Let's look at some fun science news. Let's have a look here. And I'm going to have to call it in 7 minutes. I'm going to have to call it because I've got stuff I got to do because classes start on Monday. And so there's stuff I have to do for work. So I can't do more than an hour today. But that's all right. This has been super awesome. Let's look at some pretty cool stuff instead for science because I'm so tired of dealing with the ignorance, right? The ignorance is too much. All right. So let's have a look here. There's some really cool news out for science. National Science Foundation. They always post the new stuff that they have come out in the week. So rise of oxygen on early Earth linked to planet's rotation rate. How cool is that? The oxygen rise paved the way for spectacular diversity of animal life. And so this is, I'm guessing this is a fossil, a burbot fish resting on microbial mats inside the Middle Island sinkhole in Lake Huron. So here, we've got the rise of oxygen levels in early in Earth's history paved the way for spectacular diversity of animal life. But for decades, scientists have struggled to explain the factors that control this gradual and stepwise process, which unfolded over nearly 2 billion years. So here we have an international research team is proposing that increasing day length on the early Earth, the spinning of the young planet gradually slowed over time, making the days longer. And this may have boosted the amount of oxygen released by photosynthetic cyanobacteria, thereby shaping the timing of Earth's oxygenation. And get me some more coffee. So how do they know this? Well, they did a study on microbial mats. And these are little communities that grow under extreme conditions at the bottom of a submerged Lake Huron sinkhole. So this was about 80 feet below the water surface. And the water in the Middle Island sinkhole has all that sulfur and very low oxygen, which was mimicking a lot of early Earth at the time. And cyanobacteria are really, really cool. They're super brightly colored. They're these little single-celled organisms, and they form these mat-like colonies. So they call them microbial mats because they come together and they look like, you know, a little welcome mat, as you do, right? So the researchers show that longer day length increases the amount of oxygen that was released by photosynthetic microbial mats. And this in turn points to a previously unconsidered link between Earth's oxygenation history and its rotation rate. Now that Earth spins on its axis once every 24 hours, day length was possibly as brief as 6 hours when Earth was really, 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 really young, when it was a baby Earth. So this is pretty cool. One of the cool things, and if you haven't checked this out, I'm going to put this link here so you guys can have a look later. One of the cool things, if you haven't checked out Professor Brian Cox's series, The Human Universe, there's lots of research that's going back to looking at the effect of other celestial bodies on Earth's rotation, the tilt of its axis, and its overall rotation around the sun, and how it slightly shifts approximately every 40,000 years. And it's interesting, in the human fossil record, we see an increase in growth of the cranium and the brain from our ancestors up to now, and it hits about every 40,000 years. So when the Earth's rotation changes, you end up having a bit of, a lot of climate change. And so early humans would adapt, and over time, you see this increase in brain size. It, you know, correlates with that shift and that change in the Earth's rotation. So check out Professor Brian Cox's series, The Human Universe. It's absolutely amazing, and you should totally, totally watch that. Okay. I am catching up. Yeah, RNA falls apart in the cells pretty quickly. It doesn't stick around, so there's no, I mean, the half-life of RNA is pretty low. Let's see. In my opinion, we're talking, just catching up on the child abuse thing. If you are forcing kids to go to school without masks, that's child abuse, in my opinion. And you're also abusing your teachers, particularly the ones that are immunocompromised. If you're not wearing a mask and you happen to deliver a virus to them, that kills them. But hey, what do we know? What do us science people know? We don't know nothing. But yeah, there you go. Hey, doorknob head. So all of that stuff's really cool. I need to find. So do check out Professor Brian Cox's Human Universe. Let me find a Mr. Rogers quote. Let's see, Mr. Rogers on science. Does Mr. Rogers have? I think Carl Sagan is probably the Mr. Rogers of science, right? If I were to go with that. Oh, goodness. Wow. How the science of learning is catching up to Mr. Rogers. To be quite honest, I actually did an episode of my show on how Mr. Rogers educated others. People do their entire thesis just on the way that he educates other people. Science quotes. But do check out. Let me see if I can find. Gotta take off my glasses because I'm reading. All right, I'll just say this. This is one of my favorite quotes. It's not necessarily about science. If you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, how important you can be to the people you may never even dream of. And that's kind of where we get with wearing masks, getting vaccinated, that sort of thing. If you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, wearing a mask, getting vaccinated, how important you can be to the people you may never even dream of. So the simpleness of wearing a mask, getting vaccinated, keeping a social distance from others, just in case you're carrying something that could kill them, that small act is an act of kindness. That small act is an act of kindness. It is an act of kindness to consider the welfare of others. And it doesn't really affect your welfare to get a vaccine, to wear a mask. It's not harming you. But those small little things that you do, those are random acts of kindness. And they're so simple. You can change somebody's life by doing that small thing. And, giving them space to where they can, do their own thing. I was standing in line at the grocery store behind a woman. She was very small and frail. She had a head. She was bald, and she had the characteristics of a person who was going through chemotherapy. I kept my distance. I didn't say, "Hey, I hope you feel better." I didn't draw attention to her. I just made certain I had my mask on. I was far enough back from her to where she could get her groceries. She had somebody with her helping her. And I'm like, and I was reminded, this is why I'm wearing a mask. Because I don't want to be the cause for this woman to die from a disease like this. She's already suffering from the chemotherapy that may or may not work. I need to just not make her life worse, and that's the bare minimum that I can do, is not make somebody else's life worse on the account of me. Because I would hope that if I was battling cancer, other people would step up and say, okay, that's really rough. I don't want to make life worse for you. But that's not happening. So it's really sad. Oh, wow, yeah, my coworker has been going through chemo pretty much the whole pandemic. This is Doorknob Head. Finally got off chemo yesterday. It's scary. And it's frightening for people who are immunocompromised right now in the middle of a pandemic. People who need life-saving surgeries to remove their tumors, they have to cancel their surgeries. Because why? There's no beds. There's no beds for them. So it's the very least we can do is wear a mask, get vaccinated. Just don't make other people's lives harder. This isn't about me. This pandemic isn't about the individual person so much as it is about all of us together collectively and looking out for each other and not making other people's lives worse. Hey, Titan. So I'll read it one more time and then I'll let you guys go. If you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, how important you can be to the people you may never dream of. Fred Rogers. Wear a mask. Get a vaccine. All of that is an act of kindness, and that is a random act of kindness. And people who are afraid, who are immunocompromised, they see you wearing a mask, they're going to appreciate that, and that's going to mean something to them. That's going to mean something to them. Okay, guys, I'm going to go because I got to get some work done, and I'm going to try to enjoy the mountains while I can before I start teaching in person on Monday. But I do have online classes this semester too, 1 online class and 2 in-person classes. And so we're wearing masks, going to set a good example. All right, guys, you always make each day special for me. You know how, by just your being you. I will see you guys next Saturday. Stay safe. Sending squishy science hugs. Bye.